very long show. We can do this brief because I know we're taking up your time and JD's time. And I think we have another message. Start to record. Okay, we can start now. And ready?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Welcome to Insightful Player. My name is Chrissy Carew, and I'm a personal and business coach and the founder of Insightful Player. And I started Insightful Player because we are in desperate need of role models for our kids. And the media is often sharing stories of doom and gloom, and they think that's what we want, but we don't. We clearly don't. So Insightful Player is here to inspire you and share resources with you and have you meet some of these wonderful players that really care about you. And today, the show is going to be a little bit different because we have my book has just came out. You can get it, Insightful Player, on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com and other sites. And so Tom Constantino is our guest, and he's my PR guru, and he is the president and partner at iMedia Public Relations, a well sought after PR firm in the New York City area. They're very popular, and they have to beat customers off. They only take really compatible clients to work with. But I salute him. He's done a lot of wonderful work for Insightful Player. I'm so grateful to Tom. He feels like a partner, and it's really helped us come a long way. So we're going to learn more about the Insightful Player's story tonight, and I want to welcome Tom, who's actually going to be the host tonight, not me. So welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Chrissy. It's good to be here, and welcome to Insightful Player. Proud to have one of the first copies, if not the first copy. Chrissy keeps telling me that.
The
first copy. But what I want to get in is Chrissy, we know each other now almost 2 years, and when you first came to me, it was a phone call, and was referred by another colleague in public relations, Mark Beal at Taylor, who said, call Tom. And I was struck in the first conversation with you about your passion for Insightful Player, what you really wanted to achieve with Insightful Player. And that's what made me want to work with you. And now I'm so proud that the book is out because to the world now, there's tangible evidence for your mission and what you're trying to accomplish. And so I'd like, in just a quick turn back the clock fashion, look at how you first came, how the genesis of Insightful Player was developed, the first call with a player personnel director in the NFL, and how you came to the realization that these stories needed to be told.
I spent about a year and a half calling player development directors for all 32 teams, and I got some excitement from them. They thought it was a good concept, but it never really kicked in, as not enough to. Actually, I was wanted to coach inside the NFL to help their players become better role models on and off the field, and that was about a year and a half or so in the process. And as a body, they weren't excited enough to move forward with me, and I was so discouraged. And that's a long story, but I'll shorten it. So I worked with a colleague, and together we were brainstorming, what can we do? I have this vision in my heart. We need role models. The world, they're falling down left and right. What are we going to do about this? I have to keep going, but they don't want it. So we came up with make them an offer they can't refuse. Why don't you offer to do feature stories about their really good guys that would really love to touch kids? And so I switched gears. This time reached out to the PR department and said, I want to work with your high integrity guys, doop-de-doo, and the rest is history. And they, I told them it's a very spiritual project, and I only wanted guys that were going to do cartwheels and splits to get to the interview. I wanted them that excited. And it all happened. And it just, Roger Staubach was my first player. While I was calling the teams, I called him, and he said yes right away.
Was he the first one you called to tell him the book was out?
Actually, I didn't. I should go to confession over that one. But he has one in the mail. He got one. He probably got the second book.
As a New York Giant fan, growing up in New York, in the Bronx, and moving to New Jersey, still a big New York Giant fan. But I did have the great privilege of working with Roger Staubach years back when I launched Ted Williams' trading card company, and then we launched a football brand with great players from the past, and the signature player was Roger Staubach. And I actually caught a pass from Staubach. We had a touch football game with the card executives and the media on the Dallas High School football field, and Roger played quarterback for both teams. And I'll never forget.
For both teams?
Both teams. He was QB. And I'll never forget, in the huddle, he worked out a diagram. He said to me, you go out about 8 yards, do a button hook, and the ball will be there. Well, I went out about 12 yards, and the ball was about 8 yards, right where he said it would be. So the next pass, he said, see what I told you? And so then he drilled me over the middle with the ball. I caught it. I actually have an autographed photo of Roger Staubach with me saying to a great receiver, Roger Staubach.
Oh, that's great, Tom. I didn't hear that story.
That's my Roger Staubach story. So, but what I want to get at too is, in developing these interviews with players, were the players that revealing, or did you really have to get some of these personal anecdotes out of them?
Well, when I set up the interviews, with the sports marketing agents or their PR, directors of their team, I let them know that I want to go deeper with this story, and I wanted the guys to share mistakes. And, that we need to really share lessons learned so we can really help kids. I think a lot of the players were surprised at how deep I did go. But I think they liked it. Because the Insightful Player is a platform that they're not used to. Insightful Player is their advocate. I'm all about helping them shine to get their story out to the world, and in particular kids. So they were really enjoying it, I think, the interview.
Well, often, too, what happens with professional athletes, especially those that get involved in charitable endeavors, I know I've done a number of these type of dinners where, in New York, it would happen all the time. You'd have a player on the Yankees or on the New York Giants or the New York Knicks who's at a charitable event, and it's something that might be in a foundation that they belong to or are involved in. And a newspaper would send a reporter out to the event just to get access to that athlete. And in the middle of the piece, they would say, Gary Carter or Keith Hernandez, the Mets, at the Leukemia Society dinner said this, boom, 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 about the team. And so the Leukemia Society would only get that one little blurb. The piece would be all about an issue dealing with, say, the New York Mets. And what was lost was the actual cause and why the athlete was involved in that. And I think what Insightful Player does is it gives that athlete the platform to really talk about why he's involved with a charitable organization.
Right.
Why he's involved in a different, like a literacy campaign or a program in his community. And that's not going to happen in a daily newspaper on local TV.
Right. Insightful Player is all about getting to the essence of the player. You're right. Absolutely. And finding out what's most important to them, and who do you want to touch? And what do you want to touch them with, And so we set up the interviews like I set up a coaching session, since I'm a coach. We always create an agreement at the beginning of the call, Where do you want to be at the end of the call,
Did you ever, in the calls you made with players, did you meet any kind of resistance where they were hesitant at first, but then as you got into the process, they opened up?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think that, again, they did open up, and I think there are a couple of players that open up more than others, and that's just who they are. And a lot of players said to me, I can't believe I shared all those things with you. I don't even know you, So there was a lot of those comments, probably more of those than the others. I think they really enjoyed it. There is not an outlet for that right now. And they really want to help. They really want to contribute. They really see that they're needed out there, but there just hasn't been an opportunity for them to share their own personal message.
Did Did you find that were there any of the 32 players that are in the book that came to you because of another player that was interviewed by yourself?
Yes. Well, the first time that happened was early on. Tony Richardson said, "Oh my God, you got to meet James Durth," and they were both playing for the Jets at the time. And so, yeah, I got James Durth right away, right as a result of Tony Richardson. And it happened early on.
Were there any stories that really shocked you? Something that had never been told before?
Well, I think that when I interviewed Rashid Davis, when he told me that his father was murdered and then he had to duck for cover in his own home, I was like oblivious to that kind of world. And he was this very kind, gentle man on the other end of the phone that was so filled with grace. And he was that's such a big part of who he is that he was so confident in sharing that story. And, growing up in middle America, I'm like, I think most people are oblivious to the kind of lives, to like how Rashid and some of the other players lived, and that I actually cried on his call.
Very poignant story. And I think the thing there too, and where Rashid can really help is the person in the inner city growing up with violence around them or drugs around them, who's looking for someone as an inspiration that can say to themselves, he made it out of here. He overcame, the hardship of losing a parent. And there's now someone I can look up to.
Right. Yeah, because Rashid didn't have that. He had drug dealers that he looked up to. And that's because that's all he was surrounded with. And then his mom, yeah.
Jericho Cotchery with gangs.
Right, absolutely. And the two great things that saved both those kids is they both had great parents, Jericho has great mom and dad, and, unfortunately, Rashid lost his dad, but he has an amazing mother, and she shipped him out of the neighborhood, and he was like, I don't want to go. What kid would want to leave their neighborhood to be bused to another school? But today, he says that's the greatest thing that ever happened to him, and, that's what saved him, We can't have our kids staying in that environment. We have to do something about it.
Speaking of parents, your inspiration was your dad.
Yes.
Legendary coach. Let me ask you this. What would the chapter read like if you had to write about your dad?
I would be a book. I couldn't do a chapter. There's so much to say about him. He's definitely the inspiration. He used sports to help kids build character and valuable life skills. He spent his life giving to others all the time. And he adored my mother. And they had a beautiful marriage. And he just pushed himself. I always was in awe of how he pushed himself beyond whatever he thought was possible all the time. So that was a wonderful thing to watch, actually. And he loved his family.
Growing up in a household with a football coach, you
Right.
got to witness young athletes all the time and the influence that the coach had on them.
Yeah,
Describe that.
Oh, they were crawling in and out of my house. My mother was like the woman in the shoe, And there were all these athletes over all the time, even before I was born. And there were times when they slept over, and one of my father's boys lived with us for a while, and he was our top babysitter. And it was amazing. They used to come in and have meetings, show film. And so I wanted to be around that all the time. It was like such a magnetic situation. The boys were so grateful, and my father was so passionate and cared so much about them. And it was amazing. My house was filled with that all my life. I knew no other way. And one of my favorite things I do every week was watch my father break down film. I used to watch the film with him every week. And I really enjoyed that.
Is there a player that you have the 32 now in the initial book. But 5-10 years from now, when you're writing the third and fourth Insightful Player book, what do you want that legacy to be? You know, there will be kids. Just think about this. You know, if you started and lined up 32 more players in the next 2 years, and say another book in a couple of years, what do you want the kid in middle school now or in grade school reading this book to be thinking like when you get 5-6 years down the road?
What do I want them to be thinking like 5 or 6 years from now for them?
Reading these stories, you know, what do you hope to accomplish? You know, say a child was reading this book and now is at the age now where he's in middle school, he's getting ready to go to the next step, high school. By the time the next book is out, this kid's in high school.
Right.
What will he learn because of this?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I want, the first thing that comes to mind, because of the constant theme of my players' stories, is to create a fabulous relationship with adversity. We all have adversity. And to, you know, when it shows up, to say, okay, and to create this perspective that, okay, I have this adversity. What can I learn from it? You know, what wisdom can I glean so I'm never here again? And how can this make me a better person? You know, how can this help me? And you know, what will be good? What good can come from this? Is to start to ask those, you know, I remember, you know, growing up, I mean, our parents says, you know, the adversity, you'll gain from it. You'll build character. And sometimes we get sick and tired of building character. But I think this is an opportunity that where we can actually learn the lessons now and not wait several months down the road or a year down the road. We can, in the moment it shows up, start to glean lessons from it right in the moment. And I want kids to do that. And I want kids to reach out and not feel like they have to do it by themselves. Because a lot of us are erroneously wired thinking we have to figure it out. None of us can do it alone. We all need that support. So I want kids to build a fabulous support team of other like-minded kids that have ambition, that want to contribute to the world, that have a gift inside their heart they want to express, you know, an environment where it's safe for them to share what that is, no matter how old they are, and especially if they've never done anything about that gift or that yearning they have in their heart. Because kids get to a point where, well, I'm 12 now, it's too late. I mean, no, you haven't even begun yet. So, you know, I want kids to tap into their passion. And I really want them to really be on, you know, prepare, expand their perspective, and also be on the lookout for underdogs and just for every one of them to take on a role as mentor.
You know, what I found fascinating, too, is the fact that you have so many organizations out there that are looking to, you know, partner or be involved with Insightful Player. You know, there's multiple ones. I don't want to name any. You can name them because I'll probably forget them. People that have reached out to you over the last year or more, just looking at, you know, the Insightful Player website and saying, this is perfect. The time has come. I want to be involved.
Yeah, I would love to bring in some sponsors because I really think Insightful Player is going to be an empire. You know, down the road, it's going to include many sports, including female sports, for sure. And it's a wonderful opportunity. I don't know what's wrong. I have a tickle in my throat. Licking too many envelopes.
Don't watch Seinfeld.
Huh?
You mentioned licking envelopes, and I said, don't watch Seinfeld.
Oh, I saw that episode where she died. Yeah, that was amazing. It was a great show. Where were we? What were we talking about? Oh, sponsors.
Right. Well, sponsors and partners. You know, companies that Trusted Sports, the NEA, other organizations that want to be associated with Insightful Player.
Yeah, oh yeah. Trusted Sports is unbelievable. They are doing such beautiful work in the world with their Rudy Awards, just coming out with the Rudy Awards for soccer. And they're reaching millions and millions of kids, and they're getting involved. And John Ballantyne, the founder, is an amazing human being who has this genuine desire to get kids back in the game because kids there are a lot of kids nowadays that can't play in sports because it's too expensive, you know, and yeah, and it wasn't like that when we were kids, you know, it just was a given. We played and our parents didn't pay extra, but nowadays that's not true.
Not only that, we played and it was nothing organized.
Right, right. Definitely.
It was just a schoolyard for me.
Yep. So, you know, in the NEA, in the Read Across America campaign, program, I would really love to get my players, you know, with NEA to read their stories. And not just to little kids, but to older, you know, kids as well, in high school, in college kids as well. Because there's so many amazing, inspiring nuggets, and all the players share their own guiding principles in their story, which we have at the end. We call it the instant guiding principles. It's the instant replay in the back of every chapter.
Well, I think, too, in looking at things, you've already had great success to me in interest in these stories. I think back to the last holiday season when you made the short versions of the stories, which were on the website available as a free download through PDF. We called it the Gift of Insights. You had over 80,000 downloads.
90,000.
Almost 1,000.
Yeah, that was great. That was very, very, very exciting to get that level of attention. Yes. It was wonderful to share those stories for people can give to each other as gifts, you know, because the stories are meant to be used, you know, like in discussion groups to talk about them. You know, what lessons did you learn, you know, and for parents to use them, teachers and coaches with kids.
What, in looking ahead now, do you foresee having some of your insightful players, you know, become the recruiters of the next insightful player class?
You know, I never thought of that. That's a great idea. I'm going to put them to work next week. That's brilliant.
They're in the book.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Tom. I never thought of that.
And you're the daughter of a football coach, and you got to think about recruiting.
You bet. You bet. Yeah. Yeah.
What's your, you know, I don't want to go too overboard on my time here, having you as a guest on my Insightful Players show this week. But tell me, what gives you the greatest sense of accomplishment now that this book is in print?
I think I still go back to that football camp with Montel Owens, actually, last summer, a year ago, when we had those 300 underserved kids from the Boys and Girls Club. And over there, you can't see it, but I have a big picture of one of the kids that he didn't feel well. And I don't know if you remember this because you were there. I got to take care of him. And it's watching those children come to this beautiful camp by Montel Owens, a beautiful, insightful player who was so hands-on. It was a character building as well as football camp.
Unbelievable.
He was amazing, and he was so connected with the kids, and the kids got so much out of it. That was one of my most touching moments because those are the kids who I created Insightful Player for. So I think it's those kinds of moments that have made the biggest difference. And every time I get discouraged, because it's been a rocky road sometimes, I look at that little boy's face, and that keeps me going. Because that's why I'm doing it. Yeah.
He's a terrific individual, and I remember interviewing him before that event, meeting him that day in Delaware, and then it was just amazing to see him interact with the kids. And it's true. It's everything that Insightful Player is all about.
And also, a couple of times, my players have cried when they read their stories. And that has been, been very touching for me because it got them connected to a really wonderful place in their soul. And that was really lovely. I'm a coach. And as a coach, I think the greatest thing a coach can do is love their clients. So I just love my players. I feel like, almost like a second mom to some of them, even if they're older than me. Most of them are much younger than me. But I do. I love them all. I have enormous love and respect.
One of the important things, you mentioned Roger Staubach earlier. We just mentioned Montel Owens, an All-Pro with the Jaguars as a special teams player. But this is not a book about superstars. This is a book about high integrity athletes who just happen to be playing in the NFL or played in the NFL. And I think that's an important point to express.
Yeah, it's all about their essence, and not everybody in the world is going to be superstars. And I've had a tremendous desire to get those players that were under the radar, because they don't care about getting the publicity. They're not into that. They have a genuine desire to contribute, as you saw with Montel at that camp. It was incredible.
Well, for those out there that want to read these stories, Insightful Player is out. Purchase it. BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, leading bookstores. This is a book that it's like when I teach class and I talk about the AP style book and things of that nature. These are books that you're going to have forever because it's a teaching tool, and I think that's what it's meant to be. And Chris,
yes.
you deserve nothing but accolades for bringing it to fruition.
Well, thank you, and you've helped a lot towards that. You deserve a lot of credit for hanging in there with me and doing such a great job as a PR consultant guru.
It's something enjoyable to work on because it really means something, and that's what, as a PR person, you don't often get the chance to be there at the founding of what's going to become a legendary company, but also to be there at the founding of something that was founded for the right reasons and
right.
is being promoted for the right reasons. And I'm proud to have you as a client. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you for reversing roles with me today and playing host. And I invite everyone to, go to Insightful Player. But if you need PR, iMedia Public Relations. What's your website, Tom? Why don't you give them your website?
InnovativeMediaPR.com. InnovativeMediaPR.com. We're located right here in Princeton, New Jersey.
Excellent. He does excellent work, believe me. I've been working with him for almost 2 years, and he's fabulous. Really fabulous. So check him out. He becomes your partner. That's what it is. He becomes your partner. It's wonderful. So thank you, Tom. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And Tom will be back because he's very much a part of the Insightful Player family. And we are very grateful. So visit Amazon.com, or you can go to InsightfulPlayer.com and check out the book. And I wish you all a fabulous evening. Thank you for tuning in.